Hello everyone, welcome to EzzyBills webinar. My name is Lee Fitzmaurice. I probably have met many of you before in conferences. Today, I'll present bills and expense approval workflow by EzzyBill. I will present first and answer your question at the end. Let's dive in. I have this PowerPoint presentation prepared, so you can have a quick overview what we're going to talk about today. Today's webinar will cover first overview of EzzyBills Approval and new features. Then we'll go through several typical cases of management approval, and then we'll go through email approval. We'll have a closer look. So what the features we supported, what are the buttons, and what the data we can prove. EzzyBill approval, we have approval for quite a while, and EzzyBill is a document processing software. We process millions of invoice and receipt a month. EzzyBill has a high level of automation. With the default setting, if you set up a default EzzyBill account, new EzzyBill account without changing any settings, we will process invoices and export directly to your accounting software with 0 clicks. So basically you don't need to do anything. For example, if you are Xero users, once your document is uploaded, in just a few seconds, and you will find the invoice data in draft bill folder in Xero. So we also support several other accounting software, such as QuickBooks Online and NetSuite, and in some of the other countries, we support the other softwares. And we also support integration with inventory software. And if your business require expense approval for cost control, and we have an option for you to do so. So basically, you can enable approval workflow in EzzyBills and take advantage of our powerful approval process. EzzyBill approval workflow, we support multiple level approvals. So basically, for example, if your company require project manager to approve first, and that will be the first level, and then the second level, you want the office manager or the business owner to approve. So that's 2 levels. And you can have options 1 level or 2 levels. In some cases, we also support 3 levels. And we use email approval. Email approval is really powerful and very convenient for business managers and division managers, and they don't require login. And recently, we have added a new feature allowed you to set up approval rules. And the reason we added is because the customer request. With this, we will maximize automation, basically minimize the time you require to allocate the approval. We also support a list of approval table, and the common use cases are spend money transactions. So you can allocate business card, such as credit card, beforehand. And another use case is employee expense claim. Another common use case is if you have a few business units within your company, each business unit has a manager. So you can set up all the business units beforehand. So And then when the invoice comes through, it will automatically send the appropriate business unit manager to approve. That saves you a lot of time in allocating approval. Recently, we added another new feature, which is we have approval workflow. We also have a list approval table, so you can choose how these two features interact with each other. So we will talk about more later in this webinar. So first, we will just go to our live account and show you the basic features. So this is a EzzyBills account. You have an email address, and you can upload invoices, and you can always also select a file and upload that way. You're probably aware we also have an EzzyBills phone app. You can use it to scan receipts. It's super convenient. And if you set up a new account in the by default setting, and there is no approval. So basically, after you upload a document, we will direct send to your accounting software. This account is connected to Xero company. So for example, if I select a bill, it will be exporting directly to Xero. And this is my Xero company, and so under the bills to pay, by default we treat document as a bill, and once we finish process, we'll put in the draft. We do also process other documents like sale invoices and purchase order, but that will require when you upload the document, there's a special email extension you needed to use. So we are not going to detail that. So let's look at the document we just uploaded. So now it's finished. This dark green color here means everything is finished. So we successfully export supply invoice to Xero, and this gives you the summary data of the invoice, and there's a link. It's just a link. If you click it, and it will direct go into the bill we created. So that's the bill is BT telephone bill. So we created that and with the VAT rate for you. That's by default. But if you need a management approval, so you want your manager to approve the bill before we exporting. So there's a simple thing you need, just go into settings and just go down a little bit. There is called enable approval workflow. You tick this one, and here there's two options, single level approval and two level approval. Single level approval, if that's a use case for a company, if only the manager or business owner approve the invoice, there's only one person required to approve the invoice, and you choose single level. But if for the document you need two people to approve, then you choose the two level approval. If you know if you know who is going to approve, and you put the email address in here, then every time when a document comes through, we'll email to that person to approve. So in this case, I will just leave it open. So I say save the settings. And by ticking this, in our workflow, EzzyBills has a workflow. With workflow, we determine what the task the document will go through. I'll make it a little bit bigger here for you so you can see it. So we have this one have a pre-extract. We do a few things, and then we extract the data. and then we submit approval. In this process, we'll determine who is going to approve and prepare the data for approval. And then this is once the person approves, we do a few things, then we export. In this case, it's connected to Xero, so we export Xero. So if I click this step, submit approval, in this step, we'll determine who is going to approve. And for this demo, I already set up some approval rules. And these are the new features we have introduced in the past months. Those rules will simplify your approval process and make you will be able to determine who is going to approve beforehand. For example, the first rule, so I take this rule, and then I edit the rule. So I say, in this rule, I basically said, if the invoice amount is greater than £1,000 and Adam, the person going to approve. So you can change the amount to whatever you like. You can change the email address. And my second rule is it's less than £1,000. So, and that's me is going to approve. So that can second rule. I also set up another rule, basically exclude the invoice from the telephone, BT company, because it's coming every month. I don't need anyone to approve that, and that's okay. So that's done. Once it's done, you click Save Setting. So by doing that, so we set up this approval rule. If less than £1,000, someone approve it. Above that, someone else approve. And I also specify some of the supplier I don't need approval at all. Okay, so let's save it and save the setting. And then I can upload some text invoice. For example, I upload that electrical bill, and I can also upload the same BT bill. And there's also another bill, and that's account. So these three bills are different. So what I'm hoping to say based on the rules, so the telephone bill will bypass approval, but other two will go through approval, but to different user. And one of them I have the total amount is under £1,000, another is over. So by upload them on, I will show you, see now the color change. I upload three bills. This is the telephone bill because I have approval rule to bypass this is supply BT. So it didn't go to approval. So it goes straight to Xero already. But other two go through different approval. This one go to me. And if you look at the document and this amount, it's 89 pounds, so less than £1,000, so it's go to me. And another one is, this one is over £1,000, so it go to different a person to approve. So let's go to my email. I should get an approval. So that's the one I just received. So EzzyBills email approval is extremely convenient and powerful. So when your manager get an email, so it will look like that. And there's a thumbnail showing the document upload. And this here, there's a waiting approval. That's a status. So if you look at some of my older email, and some of them one I already approved, so you can see the status change. And this is the most recent one I received. And you have option to say approve, I'm absolutely happy, or you reject it, and not for me, and someone else can approve. And you can add notes or you can modify. So I tend to like to use modify. because it has many features I can use. First, when you it has a big picture of the invoice, so I can just have a quick look. I can see the amount. Okay, a match, and I'm really happy. Invoice number, everything's doing well. In this, I have an option to put in account code. If there's something special, it has a special account code, I can put it in. If you don't put it in, we will use your invoice history in your accounting software to determine. And some company use job tracking. So in this here, you can put a job. There's a drop-down box. You can put a different like a Xero tracking category or job. You can put it in there. There's other things such as attach a file. For example, if a project manager tried or a stock person in a warehouse, if they to approve, and they can attach a different file. In this case, it's a delivery receipt. And after that, you can, some people like this, put a note, especially if, say, you are a bookkeeper, but the business owner, they do the approval. So in here, they can put the notes for you, whatever notes, for you. So you can see, sometimes they maybe put a account code or draws, if they don't want to put it here, they can put it here so you can see it. And then they just approved. So EzzyBills email approval is extremely powerful. In here, I show you before each email has a status, approved status. And I also like to use, this is Outlook. I can use flag to signal, if I've done everything, I don't need if this one, I need to talk to someone, I need attention later, so I can mark it. So once I finish, I approve, I can just hit complete. And another thing is someone asked me, okay, if my manager got a lot of email, they don't want to put everything in an inbox, and what should they do? And it's actually quite simple. So you set up a folder. In Outlook, it's called folder. In Gmail, it's called label. It's the same thing. You set up one, but then you set up a rule. So when the first time email comes through, you can just, like on Outlook, you just right click, you set up a rules, and you create a rule. And you say, okay, if subject contain EzzyBills email approval, and I want to move the item to a folder, and then you click OK. So in the future, everything will come through this folder instead of in your inbox. So it doesn't interfere with every day the other email your manager get. So EzzyBills email approval, extremely powerful, convenient, and we use existing infrastructure of email, and very reliable and very quick. It's just simply just awesome. Okay. Another thing is, if you are an administrator for EzzyBills account, you can do a lot of things at here. There's a top menu called Search Improve. And for approval, you go to Waiting for Approval. For example, this one is waiting for approval, and it's sent to Adam, but somehow you don't want to Adam approve, you want to change to somewhere else. So you just tick the right box, and then you say, I want to cancel it. So once you cancel it, and then the color change, you can select again. So this time you say, I want to email out for approval. Okay, and then you can put a different person. And you will see, you know, the email that was sent out, and you can say, okay, now I want to send to different person approval. So it's done. So that's basically the first, the main part of approval I want to talk about is we call approval workflow. So in the EzzyBills setting, you tick here, you choose whatever you wanted. If there's some fixed person to approve, you can put it in this email here. For first level, put it here for second level. Or if you don't have the fixed person you want to ask to determine, and you go to workflow and click submit approval, and you can set up rules. If you have 2-level approval, you will say submit approval 1, and you also can say submit approval 2. For both levels, you can set up approval rules, and this will make your approval process very streamlined. You don't need hand holding to determine the approval. Another thing I want to talk about today is a list approval table. The main reason we set up a list approval table is for 3 common use cases. I'll show you first in the live account where they are. So if you go to settings, so this is the enable approval workflow, and underneath there is an approval table. And this table has a different purpose. I will go to the presentation and show you. So basically from what I say, there are 3 main common uses. There are other usage as well. You know, it just depends on what's your special situation. You know, people use for all kind of things to suit their need. So there's 3 main use cases. The first one is spend money transactions. For example, if you have a business credit card, it's set up in your accounting software. You put the account number in, and the last 4 digits is 5678. So you set up here. You say, okay, that's a NAB card, and I want Bruce to approve, and this is the last 4 digits of the card, and in this case, it's a business credit card. The owner, Bruce, actually the only one use it. He said, I don't need approval myself. So he said, I am going to bypass approval. And then he just saved the changes, and then we'll generate a special upload email. So in normal, for this demo account, the normal upload email is gb@ezzybills.com. But in this special case, we put a .nab. And this one, if you email, you just use this email, so we know it's for a credit card transaction. If we use our phone app to scan credit card transaction receipt, and you just in the setting you put a alias name and it be there, so we'll know. This is the one use case. Another use case is if you have several business units. So for each business unit, there's a manager to approve. For example, here I set up a finance department, and the manager is Sally. She's going to approve. And once I set up, so within the finance department, when everyone upload invoice receipt, they use .finance to upload. It's just a separate email. The third use case is the purple one. It's the employee expense claim. In this case, the employee is a Greg. You put a Greg manager email there. So all the expense for Greg will be approved by his manager. And Greg pay the expense from his own fund. So you take my expenses. So you the business going to reimburse Greg for the cost. So when Greg scan the travel receipt on the phone, so he put a Greg say in the setting under the alias name. So these are the three common cases for user list approval. I'll just quickly show you in here, and I set up all of these for the department. I set up to marketing and finance. So often, you can set up quite a few business unit. For the card, you can set up, if you have a few credit card, you can set them up. Different people can use different ones. For employee, you just can set all the employee up here. Once it's done, you just tell each employee what their name it is, and that's it. It's quite straightforward to do. We set up the list approval just to make the approval process super efficient and minimize the time required for you to allocate approvals. So for example, okay, I want to use this. So this, I'm employee in the finance department. I have invoice I want to upload. So I simply just go in, when I do an email, so I just doing like this. And this is, whatever, blah, blah, so you can put in there, and then you can, upload. So whatever bill, you can just say send. And that when that comes through, and we will know who is going to approve. This one thing I want to touch base today, which is the relationship between approval workflow. That's the first thing we talk about, and the list approval table. Recently, we add a way you can separate them both. So, for example, in my my test, I have both on. So I have enable approval workflow. I have approval table. In this case, it's actually 3-level approval. For example, if I upload to the finance department, Sally going to the person on the table would approve first, and then okay, in this case is 2 levels. So I have 1 level here, and then the approval workflow has another level. So this it will be 2-level approval. But if you don't want these to interact, so you can, in the workflow, for the first level approval, so you can, there's another rule. So if it's upload to list approval, then we'll skip the workflow. So this is a new one we added due to popular request. So then you just save settings. Yeah, that's just quite straightforward. I think I cover most of the thing I want to talk about today. Let's just quickly go over what we talk about today. So I demonstrate your approval workflow. It can be multiple levels. I show you the email approval and how convenient it is, and how to manage your email with a lot of approval email coming with set up email rules. And in here, I also demonstrate how to set up approval rules. Then I go through the list approval for common use cases. And then at the end, I show you using approval rule to set the relationship between approval workflow and the list approval. So that's the presentation today. Thank you very much for participating in this webinar, and I will talk to you again on another time. Thank you. Bye.